Hey you, thanks for coming back, and if it's your first time here, hi, my name is Melodie. Thanks for clicking in. Today I actually woke up a little bit inspired. I figured I would do a little bit of color. I did put up a reel the other day and I had tried to use pink and blue, and it, of course, you know, kind of red and... Actually, no. How do you make purple on the color wheel? Yeah, red and blue makes purple. Okay. So with the shadows, I had taken pink and blue and accidentally made purple, so it turned out beautiful. Not what I was initially intending for, but it turned out well anyways. So today I figured I would do another eye look with a different color and a different palette, of course. So, as always, if you guys have watched my videos, you're going to know how much I stress to prep your skin very well before you go in with your foundation and everything. So skin prep, super important. So I'm going to start, as always, with the Hard Candy Hydrating Mist. And you can go straight to the face, but I'm just going to apply it to the hand. And I'm going to spread it everywhere. And this is going to be a good solid base for my cream, which has hyaluronic acid. And we all know hyaluronic acid loves to trap moisture nearby. So we set it up for success by giving it this boost of extra moisture in case your skin doesn't have any. My skin type, by the way, is dry. So anything that says it's going to moisturize my skin, I always welcome it. Now I'm going to go in with my moisturizer, and as always, I'm just using the ordinary natural moisturizing factors plus hyaluronic acid. Spread it all over the face, and then we're going to go in with sunscreen. You might not be able to tell, but I do have sensitive skin, and this is just the combination that I have found works for me. It has been a struggle and quite the journey. So oh gosh, this was a while back now. I want to say this was February of last year. Yeah, February of last year. I made the foolish mistake of washing my face with body wash. I know, insert gasp here. The reason I was doing that was not because I was held at gunpoint. It should have been, but the reason was because I had a full face of heavy, full makeup. And I didn't want to go to sleep like that because I thought, oh no, I'm going to break out in the morning. I should have just broken out in the morning. What I did was I stripped my skin of all protection. And I accidentally damaged my skin barrier. So from there it was months and months and months and months and months of bad skin. I accidentally gave myself dermatitis. So I had like little bumps that would never clear up around the mouth, the nose, the eyes. So it's been a long struggle. It's been quite a journey. Maybe I'll make a video one day with more detail on that. Yesterday I used a powder foundation, which I actually really liked. I have been using it on and off, but I think it's very nice to have on, especially hot days. So today, again, it's hot outside. It's about 30 degrees, 32 degrees Celsius. Not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. And I just find it can be, it feels less heavy than if you're wearing full coverage makeup. So we're going to do the same again today. I'm going to prime the rest of my face, and then I'm going to work on my eyes. So I'm just going to apply it in the areas that have the most visible pores. Alright, so I just went ahead and primed my eyelids. As always, I like to use the MAC paint pot in the color Soft Ochre. And we're going to set this as well. I'm thinking about doing a video soon about how to do a makeup look that looks nice for if you have like a special event you want to go to. Isn't complicated at all and anyone can do. So let me know if you guys are interested in that. I just find that sometimes, let's say you have a wedding to go to or like some sort of special event, you want to do something different than what you normally do, but you still want to stay safe within like neutral colors, things like that. I think it's good to know, so let me know if you want me to share that. Alright, so now I'm just going to take some translucent powder and pack that all over the eye primer that we put. This is going to help make sure, it's kind of like baking for your eyelids. So it's going to help make sure that the shadow stays put. That was the primer part of it. And we're going to lock this in place to make sure that the primer doesn't go anywhere. And because you are creating a thin layer of powder before you actually go in with shadow, it's also going to help to make sure that your colors are going to blend out easier. If you skip the powder part, you absolutely can do that too, but there is a chance that you might get some skipping depending on the type of shadow you're using. So now the fun part. There is this palette I've been meaning to use and I just haven't had a chance to get it. To put it on my eyes yet. It's the Nomad Royal Europe palette. It's this absolutely beautiful curated 15 shades. So it ranges from having neutral tones, blue, purples, and pinks. So it's pretty good overall for anyone. And it has a special row on the bottom of this multi-dimensional pigmented shadows as well. So this is my first time cracking into this palette. It's absolutely so beautiful, the embossment in it. I showed you pictures up close, but just look at that. I don't know if the camera is quite catching the shift of the shades there, but wow, it's just absolutely stunning. I really like the color stories that Nomad comes out with. They just make so much sense. And as you can see, it does have different rows for different looks. Kind of hard to see there, but I'm going to go in with that second column next to the browns. So I'm going to go in this shade here. I think this kind of matches what I'm wearing. So I do have some on my brush and I'm going to go ahead and apply it. So I'm actually going to do this a little bit differently. Normally I like to put in the mid-tone all over where the crease is going to be. This time I'm going to start from the darkest color and I'm going to work my way up to the lightest one. So I'm going to take that darker color and I'm going to focus it on the outer corner of my eyelid here, kind of like making a V shape. And I'm going to give it the shape that I want. So I'm going to pat it on. Wow. This has a lot of pigment. It's okay. Before I start blending, I'm going to do the same to the other side. Okay, now I'm going to start blending on this side here. The reason that I'm actually starting with the darkest color today is because sometimes when I put on shadow, if I don't know what the formula is like, sometimes some shadows don't layer well, and it just makes it a little bit more difficult for you to work with if you're not used to working with a lot of different colors. Also why I like to try to stick to 3 colors roughly for the shadow look. The less the better, because the less chances you're going to have that it's going to end up looking muddy for whatever reason. So that's a long explanation, but basically I like to start with the darkest color because I can diffuse it to the lightest shade, and sometimes I just end up using 2 colors instead of 3. So we can technically sort of bypass using the mid-tone for this eyeshadow look. And remember, I do have hooded eyes. Surprise, surprise. So I am going to exaggerate and go up higher because I do have a lot of space between my eyebrow and the fold of my lid. So if I lift, it's going to look like I have a lot put on, but when I relax, you're actually going to be able to see what I'm working on here. So I'm just going to keep blowing this out a bit more. And as you can see, we probably won't even have to go into a mid-tone color for this look. We can always apply more dark with a smaller brush on the outer corner just to deepen that up and give it more dimension, but that's kind of a cheat code to how you can have like a multi-dimensional looking shade on your eye by just using the one color. Of course, this is gonna depend on the shadow quality too. So there are some shadows, like if you're a makeup lover like me, Pat McGrath is amazing for this. You can basically create this very dimensional look on your eye with just one shade. I'll do a video with one of her palettes soon. But some of the lesser quality shadows, you aren't able to do this because the color is not it's like it doesn't have many layers, so even if you fan it out, it still kind of looks the same. Wow, we are off to a strong start. This video is not for the weak of heart. If you like color, you're in for a treat. And I'm just gonna spread out the one on the other side too. I promise this is gonna make more sense when we're done. And I'm just going to pick up some more. Again, this is of the second shade. I feel like I don't know when it happened, but in my mind I probably do know when it happened if I try to make a timeline of it. I have the softest spot in my heart for long form content. I just think it's so fun to watch. But I'm not the type of person who sits and watches a video from start to finish with my eyes glued to the screen. I'm typically doing more than one thing while I have a video playing. So it's kind of like, you know how people put Friends as a background noise while you're folding laundry? I'm the same with YouTube videos. So I like to put a YouTube video while I'm washing dishes or folding laundry or even showering. But you know how phones are waterproof now, so it's okay. I typically just like place it on the top bar of my shower and I'll have something playing while I'm doing something else. So I always have a special place in my heart for long form content. I know that's not the trend now. I think our attention span as a whole has gone down to like, gosh, it must be like if you're not captivated in the first 3 seconds, you'll probably swipe to the next video. I don't know, there's just something so special about short form content. Perfect, so we did, sorry, that's a lie. There's just something so special about long form content. Okay, so I hope you're able to tell, but you do get a difference of depth here, where it's light and it goes deepest in the corner, and this is all just using one shade, mind you. So if we wanted to deepen that outer corner, we could go in with a smaller blending brush. This one is a little bit big. It was the Refer 16. I'm going to go in with something smaller this time. This is going to be the Refer 13. And I don't know if a lot of you guys know about different brush brands. Refer is pretty good. I don't know if these are, I don't think these are synthetic hairs, but they're very high quality, I'd say, for the price point. And you can usually find really good bundles and sales for the brushes. But there's great brushes everywhere. Like you can get Morphe brushes, you could get a bunch of different ones. So I'm actually just going to go back into that dark teal shade. Remember, just on that smaller brush, just so you could see size comparison. This was the first one I was using. This is the second one I'm using. And I'm just going to concentrate it on the outer corner there. Tapping in again, or dipping in again. And I'm just going to pat it in because I don't need to diffuse it. I just want to create more depth. I'm just patting it in this time. If it does feel like there's a harsh difference between the lighter color and the deeper one, you can just lightly brush it on that edge to diffuse it more. But that's a good trick if you want to, even if you just want to practice your blending skills to make sure their amazing seamless transition is there. You can just practice doing this with one shade. See how much depth you can get with your look. And I'm going to repeat the same on the other side. Another thing about short form content is that it requires you to be actively watching it. So what I mean by that is that if you don't swipe to the next video, you're going to be playing that same video on loop for like hours, unless your screen times out or something. Whereas long form, you could just let it play and you're still going to get, you know, more information or different information. It doesn't require you to actively be changing and doing things, right? Alright, so this is so far. I'm not worrying about any fallout that I might have underneath because I haven't set my foundation. I can easily wipe this away. What I like to do is, actually I will apply lotion underneath just to wipe that off. So now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to take whatever's left over and I'm going to apply that on the inner corner here. So this is going to kind of create like a halo effect on the eye. Again, I have not dipped back into this color. I'm just taking whatever's excess. And I'm following this, the crease part of my eye, where I want the fold to go. Same on this side. And I'm just kind of connecting it. Kind of like an arch or a rainbow. And there's a reason that we're doing that, which you will find out shortly. And I'm doing the same on the bottom here. And you can drag that in a tiny bit just to make sure that everything has a little bit of color. This looks super silly, but there's a purpose to this. Oh, this is bringing me back. It reminds me of, there's this makeup show competition from the UK, I think. I'll try to find a picture and put it here. This is what that reminds me of. This is not what it's going to look like at the end, trust. Okay, so now for the fun part, I'm going to go in with that multi-dimensional color, which is going to be the one where my thumb is right there. Just kidding, I lied. We're going to do, they're just so beautiful. I can't decide. The one from the second column, I tried to capture it on screen, but I'm not sure if it's going to show. It has like a yellow to green to lime green shift. And the one right next to it has like a teal to purple to pink shift. Okay, We're gonna have to eeny, meeny, miny, moe this because I can't decide. If this was live, I'd ask you guys, but you're not here with me. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe, catch a tiger by the toe. If it hollers, let it go. My mother says to pick the very best one, and it will not be you. So we're gonna do this one today. Let me know if you want me to do a look with the other one instead. Alright, so I'm just gonna pick that up with my finger. Oof! I don't know if you could see this. I hope the camera's capturing this, but that shift, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna put that on the center of the lid, and before I do that, let me explain my placement. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna put it on the center and I'm gonna drag it upwards a tiny bit, just because again, I do have a hooded lid, so if I were to just apply it on this area, when I open my eye after I put eyeliner, you're probably not gonna notice that it's there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag it up a little bit higher to where that fold is, probably around here. And that's when it's going to be visible even after lashes and liner. Alright guys, moment of truth. This is beautiful. Ooh, okay, I'm going to go in again. Just kind of fill in those spots. And like I mentioned, I'm going to drag it up. So I'm kind of doing this triangular sort of shape. If I were to look ahead straight, it is right above where my eye... What's the color part of your eye called? Not the iris, but the other part. So it just kind of sits above that area. Dragging it up a tiny bit and patting it out on the sides. So now you can see why it made sense to lay that foundation on the inner corner of color. If I move my head, you might be able to catch the shift there. If you don't like to get your fingers dirty with color, there are also special tools that you can get which will do the dirty work for you. So now I'm just gently patting the rest on the sides, going upwards. Is that not beautiful? You did a good job, Nomad. Okay, so as I was saying, there is a special tool that you can use to do the dirty work for you. It's going to be these little silicone tipped brushes. Does it still count as a brush? I guess, right? So this one is thin and slim if you look at it sideways, or it's wide if you look at it head on. There are different shapes that you can get. This one was from a Sephora launch they had a couple years ago. If you can find silicone tips like this, I highly recommend them. I think Huda used to sell them as well. I'm not sure if they still do. But basically, this is going to let you pick up the color. So you can see I got some on there. And it's going to let you place it, and you're not going to get yourself or your fingers dirty at all. So you could just place it wherever you would like. You probably waste a bit less product this way as well because it's not staying on your finger. Again, you're just going to pick some up. Oh, sorry, I almost went into the wrong color there. And you're going to place it where you want. Super easy to work with these. I'm sure Amazon probably has them. If I'm being honest, I haven't checked. I probably should. I feel like they have everything, or whatever your favorite retailer is. Again, a little bit more. And we can still mimic that shape that we did on the other side. So I've applied it everywhere. Then I'm dragging it out. And if you wanted to, you can now use a little finger just to spread it out or clean up, soften the edges a bit more. And this makes me think of clown makeup. Where, I don't know if you guys have seen those clowns that have like the little diamond figures on the eyes. But basically that's what we're doing, like a half diamond shape. So like a triangle, sort of, on both sides. This one's more diffuse than this one, but we're going to make them match up anyways. This halo effect, this is my like simple halo that I like to do for special events. When I'm out of ideas, and it'll look so amazing even if you're using a very natural palette. So if you're doing shades of brown or taupe or whatever your normal go-to is, if you put that sparkle, glitter, special shade in the middle, it's going to make it look like you took hours to do it without actually taking hours to do. I feel like I'm in my happy place when I'm swatching eyeshadow colors. I don't know if this happens to you, but we can't always wear these colors out because people are going to look at us funny or think we're going somewhere special, but you're actually not even going anywhere. So why not wear them once in a while? I mean, swatching them is kind of like wearing them, but not on your eyes, but it's fun, right? Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and clean off the stuff I got dirty underneath. I'm going to take a little bit of that face cream, lotion, whatever it's called, hydrating cream, I guess. And I'm going to rub it into my fingers. And then I'm going to rub it on the bottom here, swiping in an upwards direction. Sometimes this works well. Other times you just kind of have to wipe it away with micellar water. We're going to find out what today is. That did a pretty good job, right? Alright, and you end up with your under eyes much more moisturized. You cleaned up the mess that was there. And you didn't end up wiping away whatever products you put because of the micellar water would take everything off. So now I'm going to move over to the rest of the face. Because I am using that powder foundation, I'm going to conceal first and then I'm going to apply the powder. So I'm going to go in with my e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Light Beige. I'm going to apply it to the inner corner, outer lower corner, right around the nose, which is where I have redness, a little bit on the chin, and lately I've been getting a little bit of redness just on my forehead here. So I'm going to do 2 small dots there. I didn't go in to re-get some concealer at any point. I just took it out once and applied whatever was on there. This concealer is very good, I think, and affordable as well. So if you haven't tried it, you might like it. And I'm going to spread this out with a flat brush. And what I like to do now is, because I have concealed under the eye here, which is where you can typically get darkness as well as the inner corner, I'm going to do one sweeping motion to connect the two. So I know it's very 2016 to do like the upside down triangle concealer. This is like the newer version, but technically it's still the same shape. So you just place it wherever is going to make most sense for your face. So I'm going to connect the two, dragging, connecting, and bring this all the way up. This is also going to help create kind of a lifting effect there under the eye. And when I drag this, I put the most pressure where the concealer is, and as I drag out, I go lighter with my pressure. So it's going to help blend it away better. I do like to go in with my foundation brush afterwards just to pat and actually blend everything well. But if you are tight on time and you don't want to wear foundation or whatever the case may be, using this hard pressure to light pressure motion. So let me show you. If this is my face, I put the most pressure and then I drag it out lightly. Kind of like an airplane taking off, if you want to think of it that way. And I'm going to repeat that everywhere on my red spots. I've come to realize I'm not good at talking and doing my makeup, ironically enough. But I'm trying, guys. Practice makes perfect, right? Also, I noticed I was talking very softly, so I apologize if I'm yelling at you in my last 2 videos, including this one. Let me know if you guys prefer it when I'm soft-spoken or if I'm yelling at the camera. Alright. That looks a little bit better. And now I'm done with my concealing concealer. I'm going to go in with a brightening concealer. So the main difference between that, nobody needs to have 2 concealers. I'm just being extra because I want my face to look absolutely photoshopped if possible in real life. This one, as you can see, is a little bit darker than my brightening concealer. This one is, I'd say, slightly closer to my actual skin tone, and this one is going to do what it says in brighten. It's not going to give extra coverage, just a tiny bit more, but it's going to brighten. So I put that in slightly different places. I still put it on the inner lower corner, but I also put it on my forehead. I don't need a heavy amount of coverage, which is why I skipped that first concealer here. Instead, I just go with a brightening one on here, and sometimes, if I'm feeling like it, on the long part of my nose here. So again, inner lower corner, on both sides, a little bit, a dot on the chin, and sure, let's do the tip of the nose today, see how that looks. So again, I'm going to do the same. This time probably just a lighter hand, not as heavy when I'm spreading it out. Just a very light hand to spread out that brightening concealer. There we go. And on the forehead part here, I just do like a fan shape. Is that a thing? So spread it out this way in towards the nose. I'm going to drag the tip forward. I don't like to contour my nose sometimes because I feel like it looks a little bit too done. But there are things that I do which I guess indirectly do contour the nose a bit. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take what I like to use for my typical liquid foundation brush. It's this pretty densely packed, it's still a soft brush, but it is pretty densely packed. These are amazing. They're from Amazon. They're the brand BS-Mall. So I think it's probably read B Small, which is weird for a name, but they're really great and they're super affordable. They usually have good like set values that you can get. So I'm going to pat over the places I had put the concealer, and that's just going to eliminate any brush strokes, which I said I'd show you guys last time and I forgot, so I'll do it this time. So if I head in closer, let me turn down this light a bit. It might be a little bit too bright. Hopefully that's better. You might be able to see some brush strokes, and when I pat it in, that's just going to help eliminate them. Maybe I should have been filming in lower lights sometime. Sorry guys. So I just pat it everywhere that I had dragged out the concealer. And again, this is going to help blend everything in. So I finally was able to get my passport picture done. Yay! It was 3 failed attempts. One was because my face was a little bit shiny. The other one was because I was wearing the wrong color. And the third one actually worked. So I think that's actually pretty good. If I was going for like no makeup, I could just powder this and head out the door, which typically I kind of am gonna do. But now I'm gonna go ahead and take that powder foundation that I'm gonna use. Alright, I just realized that I left my powder foundation shade in my bag, which is all the way upstairs, and I don't want to go get it. So I'm gonna use a different shade. This is gonna be the shade 2Y20. So I think it's close enough to my skin tone that I can get away with it. This is just what I would use if I had a little bit more sunlight in me. But super handy. Comes in this compact little case here. Has a sponge that you can apply it with. One side of the sponge actually has little fuzzy, I don't know what to call it, but it's tiny little fuzzy hairs. And the other one is like a sponge, so one side is going to give you more coverage than the other. But this is what it looks like, and it comes with a handy mirror as well. I don't typically like to apply this with the sponge itself, so I'm just going to use a dense brush, kind of like the one I showed you before. Something you would typically use to apply foundation. I'm going to pat into the powder. And I'm going to start dragging it in the areas that I want to cover. Hopefully you can see that it does give coverage right away. And it is pretty mattifying, of course, because it is a powder. So typically if I was doing liquid foundation, I would put the foundation and then I'd go in with a powder, but this is all in one. So very handy. Really great for if you don't have time and you just want to get some coverage and head out or do whatever you need to do. And it's easy to take anywhere and touch up. So I have become a big advocate for powder foundations. I think this actually turned out to be a good shade today. And if for this foundation you want a little bit more coverage, you're just going to pat it in. And otherwise you could drag it out to spread it out, and that's going to sheer it out a tiny bit as well. Because it is powder foundation, very important for you to moisturize well the skin first. You don't want to end up looking dry if you already have dry skin. And something I did forget to do because I was talking too much was set the under eyes, but that's okay, we can still do that now. Okay, so I'm going to set underneath the eye. I'm going to first make sure that with my finger I clean up any creasing that's been happening here because I was letting it sit for a while because I was talking too much. And then I'm just going to use this pressed setting powder to pat that in, and then I'm going to bake underneath. I like to put a thin layer of powder before I use my loose baking powder, just because if you go straight away with the loose setting powder, sometimes it can cling on to dry patches. So this is going to set down a very light layer of powder to make sure it doesn't cling and accentuate any dry patches you might have going on. So with my finger, I'm just going to wipe away the creasing. Once that is gone, I'm going to go ahead with that loose powder. just to lay down a thin layer, and you can apply it to any areas that also might require some hiding of pores. That didn't sound like proper English, but you know what I mean. I'm going to do the same on the other side. We're going to wipe away the creases that are there. We're going to lay down that loose powder. And whenever, just because I am very familiar with the contours and the shape of my face and the anatomy and everything, I am able to look up and away in the opposite direction of my brush. That way it kind of pulls the skin taut as much as possible to make sure that the powder gets into all the areas that would normally crease. Now I'm going to go in with my loose setting powder. This is just the travel size of the KVD Translucent Locket Powder. I'm going to use my dry sponge. I'm going to get a generous amount. Again, I'm going to look up and in the opposite direction of wherever my sponge is. So if my sponge is going left, my eyes are going right. And I'm going to set it down. And I'm going to carry this upwards as well, just to give a more brightening effect where it's going to elongate and pull upwards. Another tip, it's kind of like contouring without contouring the nose. If you want your nose to look a little bit more slim and snatched down the bridge, you can put, or not put, but bring in your loose setting powder closer to the bridge. And you're going to see what I mean afterwards by it does create a very snatched pulling effect. Or elongating effect, I guess. I'm going to do the same here. And stretch it out. And I'm going to go in as close to the bridge as I can. I'm going to go in with a little bit more powder. And I can put this, again, where I want a tiny bit extra brightening, which would be my chin. Another nose contouring with the powder hack. If you're not good at blending out nose contour, this is a really good way to kind of cheat the system and get a similar effect. You're going to pinch your sponge. So I'm pinching it, so it's going to make kind of a rectangle shape, and then I'm going to dip it into the powder. And I'm going to put it down the bridge of my nose where I want to attract light, so it looks a little bit slimmer and longer. So with the sponge still squeezed, I'm going to pat just a little bit to make a straight line. I'm going to put some on my Cupid's bow too, because I like to highlight that so it brings more light to my upper lip area. I'm going to let that sit, and then I'm going to work on the rest of my face. I'm going to go ahead and bronze now. I don't like to contour. I just feel like if you don't have the right features for it, it can look very harsh in reality. Pictures, it looks amazing. But in real life, if I bump into you and you look at me and I'm not ready for it, it's going to look funny. So if I were to apply contour all underneath my chin to hide my double chin, head on, it's going to look like I lost 15 pounds. But if you catch me on the side profile, it's going to look like I have a 5 o'clock shadow. So I don't like to do it for that reason. But you do you. If you love it, go for it. So I'm going to go ahead and apply some bronzer. This is just the Wet n Wild Contouring Palette Pro in the shade Dulce de Leche. So I just like to go in with a bronzer. And this is just a blush brush, by the way. So I get some of that. And I'm going to place it, my hollow here, I've identified that my hollow is right here. I'm going to place it above that. If I go into the hollow, it's going to look a little bit too low. And I'm going to start to look sickly instead of lively and like I've been in the sun. So I'm going to go just right here, kind of, not the highest, but the parallel side to the highest point of my cheek. I'm going to pat that in. I'm also going to do on the top corner of my forehead here. I do like to do it in towards my hairline because I don't like it when you have like a fully beautiful face of makeup and then you have this white skin from your hairline showing through. So I'm just going to do that in the hairline there as well as the forehead. Going in for more powder, and I'm connecting what I put here to that upper corner. I've been watching this this creator makeup artist on TikTok. She's so funny because she posts real stories based on true stories of some of the clients that she's done makeup for. And I kind of did freelance bridal makeup for a while. I used to do that with my cousin as well. Kind of did the same. That was fun times. But anyways, it would be super fun and the final effect would be so satisfying and like gratifying to see. But the process, ooh, I could definitely identify with the videos that this girl puts up because you would get the wildest requests. So sometimes for weddings, you'll get either the girls who always do their makeup and they don't want anyone to touch their face, so they'll do it. You get the girls who are just happy for the bride that day and are great for you with you doing anything to them. And you get the girls who never wear makeup. And that branches off into either they want like a smoky heavy eye and then they complain about it, or they don't want any makeup and you have to convince them that they need something for the pictures. So it was quite an experience. It was fun. It was a little bit frustrating at some points, but it was very satisfying. So I remember this one time a client, I guess it wasn't a client, it was one of the bridesmaids for the bride. She would never wear makeup day to day, but I always tell them to collect pictures of what they want their makeup to look like. That way, you know, if you say I want glam, glam to me might be, you know, soft natural to you. So show me a picture, that way we're on the same page. She, again, mind you, she never wore makeup. And she came to me with this black smoky eye, like a black. It was gorgeous, mind you. Absolutely beautiful, stunning. But man, oh man, was it hard to talk her into something more realistic that she'd feel comfortable wearing. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with you not wearing makeup normally and then wanting to try something new. I love it. I'm a huge advocate for that. The issue is that she wasn't going to feel comfortable with it. Absolutely not, because she wasn't used to it. Sometimes when you do, you know, you go from like no makeup to all of the makeup, you end up with someone who ends up super self-conscious. They might look beautiful, but they don't feel beautiful. So then that kind of defeats the purpose of getting your makeup done that way. You want to make sure you look good. And you feel good too, more importantly. So that was a fun experience. But yeah, back to that lady from TikTok, she's the funniest. So what I like to do now, again, to kind of contour without contouring and having to worry about blending it all out, as you could see, I just did my bronzer. I'm not going to dip back into the bronzer. Whatever I have excess left over, I'm going to, again, take the head of the brush, and I'm going to brush in the opposite direction of my nose. So the right side here might be your left. I'm not sure how this is going to translate over onto YouTube. But I'm just going to brush in the opposite direction, and then same with this one. And I'm not going to go up and down because it is a big head of a brush. If I do this, it's going to make it look bigger. So you're just going to take like the lightest approach, and as you can see, this brush is curved. So I'm just going to make sure that the lightest, or the curved part that's sticking out is the one that's going to touch the side walls of my nose. And I'm pushing. I'm not going up and down. I'm just pushing. So that's going to deposit whatever extra bronzer we have, and it's going to do a light contour without having to worry about the placement and am I drawing it right, and oh no, it's spreading everywhere as I'm trying to diffuse it out. And I like to place it under the nose and under the chin as well. I just feel like those are very flattering areas for my face type. Now I'm going to go ahead and brush away the bake that we did. So I'm going to take just a fluffy round brush, and I'm going to do like a 7 shape or an inverted 7, depending on what side you're doing first. So I'm following that upward trajectory, and I'm going down towards the laugh lines here. If you did feel that you wanted a little bit more brightness under the eyes, you can always apply another powder, like a brightening powder. I'll do that just to show you guys. But what I'm going to do, same brush, I'm going to go into that same contouring palette, and I'm going to go into the light shade. I'm going to pick a very light amount out with my brush, and I'm going to pat that in the inner corner underneath the eye. Alright, so I'm going to use the blush called She's Blushing from Patrick Ta. This comes in a duo, so that is powder and cream. I don't always dip into the cream, but typically Patrick Ta does recommend that with this formula you apply the powder and then you do a little bit of the cream on top. I'll do that today for you guys. It looks beautiful, and unlike other cream or liquid formulas, it doesn't take away or create patchiness of any other powders that are underneath. So I'm going to go with my blush brush, and I'm going to grab a generous amount. Now I'm going to place it on the highest point of my cheekbone, coming up close to underneath the eye where we did the shadow. And I'm going to extend that towards under the eye and upwards to connect to my bronzer. I was looking at a little while ago, I was looking at some pictures of a couple years ago how I used to do my makeup, and my blush placement was different. I'm not mad at it, but I kind of started doing it this way and it kind of stuck, so perfect. And I'm just going to blend it into my bronzer, but I'm not going to reapply straight into the bronzer, otherwise it's going to look like you put blush on your forehead. I'm just taking whatever's extra left over to diffuse inside underneath the eye on my cheek, as well as upwards to blend that out. This cream creates a very seamless transition of the blush and the bronzer. I am going to go in to grab a tiny bit, and I will apply that under the nose as well as under the chin, and drag it out under my neck just to make sure everything is blended well. Okay, this looks super funny, but I swear it's going to look great at the end. So now that the face is relatively done, I'm going to go in with highlighter, but I'll do that afterwards. I'm going to work on the lower lash line. So I want it to look more blended in with what's happening on my lid. I'm going to take a small domed pencil brush. This one is from Morphe. It's the E18. I've just found that's the perfect size for underneath my eyes on the lower lash line. I don't have any color here, by the way. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take that same color that we put initially. I'm going to drag it underneath, and then I'm going to take some of the reflective multicolor and I'm going to apply it just in the center. So it kind of mimics what we did on the upper lid, just on the lower lash line. So I'm going to go into that shade that we initially took. And I'm going to start with the placement on the lower outer corner. You can pat and drag it at the same time inwards. You could otherwise, if you didn't want to replicate this teal color underneath, if you just did color on top and you still wanted to diffuse it so it looks a little bit softer and it just makes more sense, more cohesion with the look overall, you could otherwise just go in with bronzer or some medium brown shade and apply it to the lower lash line here just to blend everything together. If up close, you might be able to see that you can see the difference between, you know, the concealer and where I don't have any makeup. So that's what applying this powder is going to do. It's going to help blend everything and make it look softer. And I'm not going to go too far in, otherwise if I get in this inner tear duct area, it's going to start to look a little bit messy on accident. I haven't gone in with my brush to get any more. I'm still just using what was on there. Now I'm going to go and grab some more, but for the other side. So I kind of squint, I pat, and I drag it out where I want the color to be. And I swear this makeup is a lot quicker, but because I'm chatting so much, it's going to take probably like over half an hour, but it shouldn't really actually be that long. If you do this in the silence of your own home, it'll be a lot quicker. Another cool thing about doing this is that if you drag this out, it's going to help hide any creasing that might happen under your eyelid here. What is that area called? But anyways, any creasing that might happen here, which naturally everyone has little wrinkles there, even babies. So you are not weird for having them. Just remember that. And the benefit of using that little silicone brush I mentioned before is that if you want precise placement of any like sparkly, shimmer, glittery shade, this is going to help you do that because the tip is going to be much more fine than me going in with my pinky, for example. So I'm just going to grab that same shade that we used on the lid, which was the second one here. And as you can see, I do have a small amount there. I'm going to apply that right underneath to mimic what we have going on the lid. And I can drag it out. So hopefully it looks like a reflection of what's going on above. And the camera, I think, does catch that right in the middle. It does give the most reflection. So this is a great way to bring a little bit more light and attention to your eyes. As someone who has brown, borderline black eyes, it doesn't bring out the color in my eyes, but if you have another color and you use something to complement, so for example, if you have blue eyes and you use pink tones or red tones to help them stand out, that should make them pop as well. And I'm just doing the same on the other side. I'm just applying it in the center and dragging it out. You can always go in and put a little bit more just to make them look even. And the inner corner of the eye, we're also going to apply something too. So now I'm going to take one of the finer pencil brushes that I have. This is the Refer 3. And I'm actually going to go and attract some light to the inner corner with a white color. And this one here is just one of the trios that you could put together yourself with Makeup Forever shadows. So you buy the, or I guess you buy the shades and then you get the palette as well. It's magnetic. I have put in white, a pinkish white, and a yellowish white, which is going to complement a wide range of different colors that I might be doing for my eye look. So I'm going to go in with the white first. I'm not sure if I should do the yellow or the pink, but I'm just going to go in with white first, see how that looks. And we're going to drag it and diffuse it towards the lower lash line as well as upwards. So on the upper inner part, I like to do this kind of like a curving motion upwards to bring more light and help create the illusion of a mobile lid starting a little bit higher up too. So you might be able to notice the difference there with and without. I'm going to finish one side well and then I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. So I'm going to take that yellow one now and I'm going to apply it over top the white one. I think yellow was the right choice. Okay, you might be able to tell, hopefully, this side is with and this side is without. It gives it that extra touch, I think, without necessarily going in with bam, sparkle in your face. You can. I do like to put in highlighter as well. That's going to help complement whatever I have put on my face. But that's not necessary if you don't want to. You could just leave it with a matte inner corner. I'm always on the hunt for a good pigmented white shadow for this purpose. I used to use this white shade that came in a KVD palette, which is like, they don't make that palette anymore, and it was the perfect white because it was bright enough, it was pigmented enough, and I can't find anything like it since. I still have some, but I don't touch it because I only like to use it for special occasions because I can't find it anywhere else. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am pretty happy with the eye look that I have, but if you wanted to blend out, let's say for whatever reason, the blending that you did here is, you know, a little bit harsh and you want to soften it up or you want to blend it better, what you can do is you could take a smaller blending brush. So this is just all around domed. And you can go into a lighter shade similar to the one that you used for your eye look. So in this case, if I wanted to do that, I could go into this third shade on the top row. I'm going to go ahead and grab a tiny bit there. And I'm going to use that alone to blend out the edges. And I'm using a very light hand here as well. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And as you can see, that did add a slightly more of an aqua tone. But that's alright. We can go in with the white as well and blend that out. So the one good thing about these white shades for Makeup Forever is that they are sheer enough. They're not super pigmented. So if you do want to use it for this purpose, it's a great way to blend out your shadows on that upper edge. So I'm just taking that same brush. I did a couple different swirlies on this little quick switch is what it's called from Morphe, to take out any powder shadow there might have. I'm going to take the white. I'm going to go and buff out the edges of the shadow to blend it out more. And I'm going to do the same again. Take the white, tap it off, blend the edges. And I like to use all of the space I possibly can under my eye towards my eyebrows. And this is not very demure or mindful, but it's still very beautiful, so why not do it once in a while? I think you guys would probably get bored if I just did brown shade looks all the time. And I don't know about you, but I like to live vicariously through some of the people I watch on YouTube as well, so if you can't wear the color, let me wear it for you. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and work on my brows. Okay, so to do my brows, I did them differently yesterday and I actually kind of like them. Normally I go in with a pomade and a gel. That's a lie, I go with a pomade, powder, and a gel. But yesterday I just did them with a pencil and gel. So I'm going to do that again today. I like to have two different colored pencils on hand. So they both look the same to the naked eye, but if you read them, one of them is called Ebony, it's number 11, and the other one is called Granite, and it's number 12. So it's literally, one is slightly lighter than the other. So this is lighter and this one's darker. The reason I like to do that is because if I am doing a light no makeup, I will go in with the lightest one to draw in or mimic hair strokes. If I am doing a heavier eye look like this one today, I'm going to go in with a slightly darker one to do those brush strokes. So I kind of like to balance my brow to my eye look. So if there's no shadow, no look going on, I'm going to go in with a lighter one. And if it's heavier, I'll go in with a darker one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush my hairs upwards. This is going to help me see where my brows are going to end up placed once I lay them down with gel. And it's going to help me identify any sparse areas. So as you can see, I have an area here, here, and a lot of this. So now I'm going to be able to go in with my pencil and fill those in. I know some people like to brush their hairs down to see what's missing, but I find personally the only downside of doing it that way is that I'm not actually identifying what I want or being able to place the hairs where I want for the final look. So you might end up placing extra color where you don't need any, and you might end up with a little bit heavier than intended looking brows. So I'm just doing long light strokes in the brow area, and I'm going to focus on the tail end here. And sometimes I like to go back and forth as well. Super light hand though, just to get some areas quicker. I don't know if you guys saw this or if it happened for like a blip in time. Maybe only I remember it. But I feel like for a little bit there, it was very in to either shave or whatever the tail end of your brows. So in my case, I'd be cutting off this end so you could do it straight out to give that lifted effect. I never had the courage to do that, but I thought it looked very pretty on the people that did. Part of the reason I never did it was because I don't think I have the ability to actually draw in very fine light hairs for a brow that looks natural in pictures. But if you did it, let me know. Do you still do it? Did you like it? Did it change your life? Perfect. So now I'm going to take the spoolie side and I'm just going to wiggle and push or pull upwards to help blend in the shading that I did. Before, after. Do you think I was born with this brow? Am I fooling anyone? Or just myself? Now I'm going to do the same, brush it up to see where the areas are that I need to fill in. I'm going to say a little bit at the front here and definitely this area. I don't understand why historically it would seem that one of the fashion trends that has changed the most, I'd say, like consistently, has been the brows. Because you have like, what was it in the, must have been the 20s or maybe the 40s or the 20s? It was like the pencil, like if you look at those black and white Hollywood films, it was like literally a pencil thin brow. You have like this, you're not going to use that word, that comma looking brow when overdone from like the 90s-ish era. You had the, laminated fluffy brow more recently. Why is it that we focus on altering the smallest part of our face all the time? Like I wonder too with makeup, I know it looks beautiful to have eyeshadows on the lids, but there's so much more space everywhere and we don't really play around with the placement of that. Recently, I think I have noticed we do change up like the blush placement. You have the boyfriend blush, you have the sun-kissed and all that stuff, but typically it's the eyes that we draw the most attention to and have the most creativity with. If you know the answer why, please let me know. Leave it in the comments. I would love to know why that is. Alright, so there's the before and after. My brows look like they're related. They're not twins. They might be sisters. They might share a father. Who knows? They look similar, not the same, but that's okay. No one's face is perfectly symmetrical. I'm going to go into some gel now. I'm going to brush it upwards as well as push it in the opposite direction of what my hairs grow in. You're going to notice that's going to leave extra clumps of like product. And that's okay because that means that we're coating all the hairs with product and that way it's going to stick down better. Now I'm going to brush it upwards and place them where I want. And with the flat side of this spoolie, I'm gonna push them down to give that laminated bushy brow effect. You can clean up the top a little bit. That's pretty much what I'm gonna do there. I'm gonna repeat the same on the other side. Alright, brows are locked and loaded. I'm gonna go ahead and do liner and lashes off screen, and I'll be right back. I just applied some setting spray. I've done my liners and my liners. Well, I guess technically one on each eye. But I like to apply setting spray before I do my mascara, just because if your mascara is not waterproof and you douse a heavy amount of setting spray, which I like to do to lock everything in, it could get your lid or your lashes wet, and if you blink or whatever, it's going to transfer underneath, and congratulations, you just created a new problem to fix. So I like to avoid that in the first place. So I do liner, I apply setting spray, and then I go in with the stuff like mascara can easily be disturbed by liquids. Alright guys, I went ahead, applied liner, lashes, as well as did my lips. I do have that lip combo in a separate video, which I'll try to have somewhere up here pop up. And this is pretty much the final look. What do you guys think? I know the combination wasn't what we initially thought we were going to do, but it ended up being, I think, a little bit more glamorous, but in a good way. So let me know what you think. Would you guys do something like this? And let me know what other color combinations you want me to try. If you want me to try that other multi-chrome color that we eliminated through a very scientific process of eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Or any other colors from that palette that you want to see. And before I forget, actually I did line my waterline, so not sure if you guys can see it here. But I use this ColourPop color. That's a bit redundant. It's called Crossed, but it's spelled C-R-S-S-D. Not sure if they still have it, but it's a very neon yellow color, as you can see. But I thought it complemented well with the shift in that multi-chrome color. So a little bit different and a pop of color to already existing color. Also a really good combination if you're doing like a neutral look to put in a very bright color in the waterline. Let me know if you want to see that in an upcoming video as well. And as always, everything is going to be listed in the description box below. It's always a big help if you guys like, comment, share, or even better yet, subscribe to my channel. That way you can get notifications of when I will have new videos out. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See you next time.